See you later. Now, when Katie Marsh began working with young stroke patients, she was struck at their determination to get better and to return to their everyday lives.
Yes, it inspired her to write her first novel, a look at how a life-changing illness can challenge love and relationships. And Katie is with us now. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
So give us if you like, the brief setup of who these people are and what's the situation they're in.
The novel is about a young teacher called Hannah, whose husband Tom has a stroke on the day she's going to leave him. The novel then follows them over the next few months as Tom fights to rebuild himself, learning to walk again, learning to cut up his own food again, learning to put on clothes. He can't do any of that at the start of the book. And Hannah has to give up her dream for him. She has a dream job set up, and suddenly she has to stay and care for the man who has made her miserable for months and months and months. So the novel really charts them as they redefine themselves in the wake of what's happened.
And is this an actual story you've seen through the people you've worked with, or is it just, you know, you've seen how they've dealt with other things and then got the idea from that?
It's not exactly what I saw, but it was certainly sparked by the people that I met. There was one couple in particular who, he was in his 30s when he had his stroke. He was 32, obviously very similar to Tom. They were 7 weeks married. They were in their honeymoon period when she went downstairs and found him on the sofa, lying face down very awkwardly. And over the next year or two, in fact, it took him to recover. He went from a man who couldn't make a 3-letter word on a Scrabble board and couldn't walk, to going back to work, to having children, and I think she really brought home to me the fact that the stroke isn't just about the stroke survivor themselves, it's about their carers, it's about their families. She had to be incredibly brave for him, and that certainly is what inspired the character of Hannah in the book.
I'm very mindful when we talk to authors that we don't want to give too much away in terms of plots, but you have already revealed the twist, if you like, at the beginning of this tale, which is the day that the stroke happens. So this enormous event in one person's life, it happens to be the day when the other person in the relationship has decided they were going to say, we're over, you know, I'm out of your life, which presents a whole different set of scenarios, doesn't it?
It does, but actually in this case, they've been leading pretty separate lives, you know. That he'd been working, he's a corporate lawyer, he works all the hours God sends, and she is a teacher, she has a very different social life to him. They haven't been spending any time together. The stroke does throw them together in a way they haven't been together for years. And there's a rediscovery in that, a remembering of the person who you fell in love with initially. And obviously the stroke brings out qualities in Tom that Hannah had forgotten he had. And that's really where the page-turning, hopefully, suspense of the story comes from.
And it's interesting you say as well, because this is obviously a young couple, and often people, when they think about people having strokes, they think it's older people, and so that's another kind of shock element to this, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there has been a perception that stroke is an illness of older people, and I think that is changing very much now. There was a study in May about young strokes, and there's a charity set up specifically for young stroke survivors called Different Strokes, which cases for everyone in the country who has had a stroke from retirement age down to even children. So that perception is definitely changing. And I thought it was quite arresting having a young stroke in the book.
I don't know if you watched earlier, watching all those people opening their GCSE results this morning. I'm always fascinated by how authors become authors. This is your first published novel.
It is my first published novel.
Has it been a tortured route to this point?
It's been a long route. It's been 10 years of writing since I first wrote my first ever word of fiction. That was 10 years ago. 2 novels didn't quite make it along the way, and then I had this idea and it just wouldn't leave me alone. And it was the first story I tried to write that I just couldn't not write.
And who was it who was driving it? Was it just you that you wanted to get it done, or were there people saying, you know, you've got something here, keep going? Because 5 years is a long time.
It was just me in an attic surrounded by Post-its the majority of the time. You have to, I think, as a writer, keep yourself in that chair and keep going. So I got an agent last year and then got a book deal, but it was a long period of me in an attic, hoping I wasn't insane for doing this.
And not just your first novel, but also your first TV interview.
My first ever TV interview. I hope you can't tell too much.
Yeah, you've nailed it. Don't worry, you've done a cracking job.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Good luck with the book sales, and thank you very much for coming in to talk to us as well.
I've never heard the phrase "you've nailed it" used so often on breakfast this morning. Jack Whitehall said that to everyone he met this morning.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
You've nailed it.
He influenced me.
Katie's book is called My Everything.
Yes, it's just coming up to 9 o'clock.